Hello and welcome back to another World of Warcraft Cataclysm Patch 4.2 DPS guide. As always, this is Draven from the US Burning Legion server, and today we'll be taking a look at the Unholy Death Knight two-handed playstyle. In part 1 of this guide, we'll be covering stats, talents, glyphs, macros, a brief overview of my UI and add-ons, and some general Unholy DK play and little tips and tricks that you're going to want to know. Alright, let's go ahead and jump right in and start taking a look at our stats. If you've seen my two-handed frost guide, basically it's the same thing. Our stat priority as Unholy Death Knights is the following. Strength, above hit rating to the cap of 8%. Above expertise. In my opinion, some people argue that expertise is not necessary. However, in the event that I switch constantly between Frost and Unholy in my raids, I like to have that 26 expertise just to be sure. It comes in handy on fights like Major Domo and stuff like that where you need to be in front of the target. Ragnaros, crap like that. So, continuing on. Strength, over hit rating to the cap of 8%. Over expertise to the cap of 26. Followed by haste, over mastery, which is greater than crit. And last but not least, agility and attack power. In terms of reforging, I have recently been turned on to a website called WoWReforge.com. It is an amazing website. That or AskMrRobot.com, or if you have a spreadsheet like RAR, any of those can help you optimize your reforging. I'm not overly geared. I've got my 4-piece tier 11 bonus still. Haven't traded that out yet. I'm not sure how exactly I'm going to go about using tier 12. I don't know if I'm going to do 2 and 2 or just completely hold off until I have my 4-piece or what. I haven't decided yet because I haven't run into that problem. As always, I'll go over what I did not take as opposed to what I did take. And for this particular stat or for this particular spec, I will qualify some of the choices that I did make. First, Unholy Command. I didn't take this because it's not often I find myself death gripping stuff in a PvE environment. With the exception of Beth to Lock ads, I'm not really gripping anything. So, I didn't take it. Next, Resilient Infection. It's not often that I find my abilities dispelled off the enemy. I only took 1 in Desecration simply for the fact that I just needed to get talents in to keep moving down the tree. You don't need 2 in this. You don't even need 1. If you're in a 25-man guild, you probably got people doing slows for you, so it's not a big deal. Death Advance. I take this because, once again, you know, when your Unholy runes are both depleted, movement impairing effects, blah blah blah. How often are you under a movement impairing effect in a raid? Because offhand, I can't think of any. And that said, I don't think it's needed. I didn't take it. And last but not least, Unholy Blight. This might surprise a few people. By my calculations, at my gear, and how hard my death coil hits, this basically rounds out to 100 DPS, give or take. It gives 10% of my 10k hit. My average death coil is 10k. So 10k divided by 10%, that's 1k damage every 10 seconds. That's horrible. 1,000 damage every 10 seconds? Like, what were they thinking? Blizzard, that was a horrible decision on your part. Make it stronger so people will use it. This sucks. Alright, moving on. I'll take the time to go ahead and describe why I took 3/3 magic suppression and 1 in anti-magic zone. There are tons, infinite fights, every fight, where you can use AMS to get a buttload of runic power, a ton of runic power. And anti-magic zone comes in handy in damn near every fight. I can't think of one fight where you're not clumped up at least one. And it's always nice to get the ginormous amount of runic power from popping anti-magic shield right before any kind of magic damage, which again is present in every single fight out there. So it's incredibly valuable. It really helps me get my dark transformation up. So I'm a big fan. I took it. Going into the blood tree, I took 3 3-bladed armor, because as I described in my frost video, just about anything else won't really add up. It's an amazing amount of attack power for 3 talents. Butchery I took basically because I didn't have any other options, and I just wanted to get to improved blood tap. But that's my spec. Big advocate of it. I really enjoy it. Really handy, helpful to the raid. My glyphs. For major glyphs, or for prime glyphs, we actually have a couple of good solid choices. My first and foremost, Raise Dead. It's point, glyph for glyph, it's going to give you the most DPS. Because your ghoul does a phenomenal amount of your damage. Second, I chose Scourge Strike. And third, I chose Death Coil. Now, mind you, this is what I normally use, like on any given fight. But fights with lots of adds, like I found it to be much more beneficial on hard mode Rhyolith, with all those little liquid obsidians and all the fragments out. I started using Glyph of Icy Touch and Glyph of Death and Decay. Incredibly bumped my DPS. Spreading diseases on that fight pushes me over 24k at times in 25-man hard mode. For a melee, that's pretty freaking phenomenal, especially considering the adds in that fight are a big deal and they need to die. So it's really helpful to the raid, it's helpful to the meter, it's helpful no matter how you look at it. But if it's not an AoE fight, I suggest you pick Death Coil, Scourge Strike, and of course, Raise Dead. And just to make sure, in that AoE fight, I took Death and Decay and Icy Touch over Scourge Strike and Death Coil. Always, always, always keep Raise Dead. Now for major glyphs, I chose Anti-Magic Shell simply for the fact of, it lasts longer if I pop it a few seconds early on accident or whatever. It just gives me a better window of time. Pestilence, we are disease-spreading machines on fights with adds, so it comes in a huge handy. And then Dark Succor. This is basically something I just took for the purposes of helping a healer. If there's tons of damage going out, I just got the killing blow on an ad, but I'm low on health. I've got 3 diseases on the target. I can hit Death Strike, and it gives the healers a nice cushiony window to get me a heal. It keeps me alive. Another choice you could pick is Blood Boil. You could easily argue that Blood Boil is what you want to pick. Past that, though, I don't see anything else beneficial for Unholy DPS in a PvE environment. And last but not least, my minors, if they matter. Horn of Winter, Blood Tap. Blood Tap's nice. It doesn't cause damage to you. And Death's Embrace. However, at the moment, Death's Embrace seems to be somewhat glitched. It doesn't seem to refund my runic power, which bums me out because I can't build up Dark Transformation stacks before a boss fight. So don't know what's going on with that. Don't know if Blizzard's on top of it, or I'm just not very observant. But I'm taking it, so whenever they do fix it, I'll have it ready to go. Alright, let's take a quick look at my macros. As always, if you're familiar with my playstyle, you're familiar with my videos, I use a lot of Alt button modifier macros. What that means is I hold the Alt key, and a lot of my abilities will change from one thing to the next. This is just my personal playstyle. It is my preference. You may not like this type of macro. You may like to use a different modifier key like Shift or Control. That's perfectly fine. This is what I like to play with. There you go. Also, if you're familiar with my fights or my videos, every tune I have has a 1-button cooldown macro. However, playing an Unholy Death Knight, I've got 2 of them, and I'll explain why. My first one is simply my potion, my Unholy Frenzy, my Berserking, my Pillar of Frost, and my Gargoyle. If you haven't guessed yet, yes, this serves as my Frost/Unholy DPS macro. If I had an unused trinket, it would be in here right above Summon Gargoyle. The reason I use 2 of them for a troll, specifically a troll Unholy Death Knight, is because of the fact my racial Berserking doesn't stack with Unholy Frenzy. So to get the most out of it, I'm going to chain them back to back. Now what I normally do is I just created a second pre-potty macro that's basically my Golden Blood Potion and my Berserking. And this is what I hit before I run into combat. This is what I hit before I summon my Army of the Dead, anything like that. So, you know, scenario, we're pulling Shannocks, they count the cooldown, they get to 2, I hit my macro, my pre-pot and my berserking macro, I do my Army of the Dead, and then I go about doing my rotation. So by the time I've got enough runic power to summon my gargoyle, my berserking should just about be finished, you know, casting, and then I'll immediately hit Unholy Frenzy on top of it, and it's more increased attack speed for a prolonged period of time. Obviously, you don't want to use either of these abilities when Bloodlust is active. Please keep that in mind. That could really mess you up. And you really, really want to take the time and monitor your procs and your weapon buffs and crap like that, so that you can get the absolute most out of Summon Gargoyle. I do that personally with Power Auras, which I'll go ahead and show you guys right now. For this tune, I have a fair number of Power Auras. This one right here basically tells me if Frost Fever's not on the target, I need to put it up there. Blood Plague's not on the target, I need to put it up there. I should get another one for the third Unholy Disease. Probably put it like right here or something. We'll see. As for my buffs, these two on the outside, these two concave looking ones, that basically yells at me and says, hey, Rune of the Fallen Crusader procced. Cool, you have increased percentage of strength, which is always great. This top one is the proc I get from License to Slayer. I have the stacks that go with it right here, the timer on the left. There we go. This bottom Power Aura is the one that tells me my my 4P set bonus, tier 11 set bonus is active, 3% increased attack power. And the one right in the middle is Rage Heart, Heart of Rage. You get it from Chimeron and Blackwing Descent, and it's just a 1600 strength proc. Ideally, I want all of these showing when I summon my Gargoyle. It won't always work out that way, but it's nice if you have it. Another add-on for tracking buffs and crap like that is called ForteXorcist. It's just a little cooldown bar. Huge fan of it. Big help. Really, really customizable. Can be confusing and scary for some people though. So keep that in mind. A quick overview of my other add-ons. Up top, Titan panel, completely for looks. Not necessarily looks, but for utility. It's just a great add-on. I can put a bunch of plugins on it, and it's an awesome, phenomenal add-on. Down here, my chat box is an add-on called Prat. It's just got a bunch of functionality. It's really cool. My bars are set up like this thanks to Bartender 4. They're in circles with nice colored, you know, rings or whatever you want to call it, thanks to button Facade. Another nice nifty add-on, totally for looks. Cosmetic, don't need it. My map is moved to the middle and has a nice art around it thanks to Sexy Map. Again, totally cosmetic, don't need it. I like it. This is my heads-up display, and it's a really big help because it's a really nice way to quickly monitor exactly how much runic power I have. This bar right here, when I'm in part 2, when I do my DPS test, you'll see it fill up with blue, and the higher up, the more runic power I have. So it's just a nice quick reference to my runic power. It's got your runes on it. I don't look at the runes though. I look down here out of habit. I've got Skada and Recount. I use them both because sometimes Skada may pick up stuff that Recount doesn't. Recount may do the same. And recently I've been getting bugs where basically it says everybody's doing double what they normally would do. So I like to, if one's doing that, I'll look at the other, vice versa, whatever it may be. And then of course my Omen threat add-on. That should be just about it for part 1. So tune into part 2. We'll take a really in-depth look at Unholy Deathknight mechanics, some cool little things you can do with Blood Tap that I've recently found out, as well as the general rotation and a DPS test for 5 minutes by yours truly. So I hope this video helped you. Rate, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your guildies, leave me comments, let me know I'm doing right, let me know I'm doing wrong. Let me know what you guys want to see, all that good stuff. Your comments and your support have been incredibly helpful. It is the whole reason I continue to make these videos. Thank you for that. So that is it for part 1. I will see you guys in part 2. Later.